Foldable screens are already the most expensive smartphone repair on the market, and the Fold 8 Ultras is the priciest one yet. A cheap case here isn't saving you money, it's a gamble. We already dug through every case that's live for pre-order or shipping right now, and we're ranking them by one thing most videos skip. Whether they actually protect the hinge and camera without wrecking the fold feel? Number 10 is barely worth your cart. Number 1 is the case we'd actually put on our own unit. Stick around.
10. NINKI Invisible Kickstand Magnetic Case. We're starting here because it's the least information you'll get for your money. The NINKI case ships with a built-in screen protector and a low-profile kickstand band. And if all you want is something on the phone before it ships, it does that. The kickstand folds flat when you're not using it, so you're not carrying a permanent hump around. And the fact that it bundles a screen protector at all means you're not stacking a third-party glass on top of an unknown inner lip. On a $2,000 plus foldable, that's a real gap. If you're the kind of buyer who reads a spec sheet before checkout, this listing won't give you much to read. Pocket feel is a mixed bag too. Kickstand cases like this usually add a raised ridge along one edge for the stand mechanism, and that ridge is exactly the kind of thing that catches on jeans pockets, something to physically check once your unit ships. Since a smooth pocket slide and a functional stand are usually in tension with each other, and because there's no published camera lip design info, we can't tell you whether this one sits flush on a desk or rocks on the raised lens block. Verdict: fine as a stopgap while you wait for a case with actual documentation, not something we'd recommend if you're trying to protect a $2,000 phone long-term. Consider it a placeholder purchase, not a final one. If you want a case that at least confirms it fits 2 phone generations at once instead of guessing, the next one's an interesting one. 9. Hensinple Magnetic Case, Fold 8 Ultra Compatible. Like a couple of other budget picks on this list, Hensinple sells this exact case as fitting both the Z Fold 7 and the new Z Fold 8 Ultra. The listing states it directly, and it checks out, since Samsung kept the Ultra's external body at the same 8.0-inch size as the Fold 7. If you're upgrading and already own Fold 7 accessories, that's a genuinely useful thing to know before you buy something new. The case uses a hard PC back with a translucent matte finish, built-in magnets for Magsafe-style charging and mounts, and is marketed with a military-grade drop protection claim. That phrasing comes straight from Hensimple's own listing, not a third-party lab, so treat it the same way you'd treat any brand's self-reported drop rating, rather than an independently certified number. The matte back also helps mask fingerprints day-to-day, which matters more than it sounds on a phone this size, since you're handling both halves of it constantly while folding and unfolding. If Samsung tweaked the hinge geometry at all under the hood, a shared fit case is the one most likely to feel slightly looser around that hinge area over time. Verdict: a reasonable budget pick, especially if you're coming from a Fold 7 and want your old case-adjacent gear to still make sense. Just know you're buying into a shared fit design, not one engineered around the Ultra specifically. Moving from a shared fit budget case to one from a brand that at least documents what's inside it, even if it's built for a narrower type of user. 8. Nillkin Super Frosted Shield Fold Magnetic Pen Holder Version. Nillkin's Super Frosted Shield line has been around for years, and the Z Fold 8 Ultra version keeps the signature matte, frosted plastic back that resists fingerprints without feeling slippery. This is the magnetic pen holder variant specifically. It's built to carry an S Pen style stylus, and the magnet ring inside supports MagSafe style wireless chargers and mounts without you needing a separate accessory. The honest catch is that this case is a specialty pick. If you don't use a stylus with your Fold, you're carrying a dedicated holder for accessory you'll never touch. And that holder does add width to the case's profile. This is not the case for someone chasing the slimmest possible setup. It also means the back panel isn't uniform, which matters if you care about camera lip design. A pen holder built into the back changes how the case sits when you lay the phone flat, and depending on where Nillkin positions it relative to the camera block, it could either help balance the phone or make it rock the other way. That's worth checking against your own desk before you commit. Verdict: a genuinely solid pick if you actually use a stylus with your Fold. Skip it if you don't. You're paying for a feature you won't use, and there are slimmer options ahead on this list. From one dual generation case to another, but this one leans harder into published, specific numbers instead of vague marketing. 7. FNTCASE Magnetic Hinge Case, Fold 7/Fold 8 Ultra Compatible. This is the case whose dual-generation fit gave the whole shared body story away in our research. FNTCASE sells this exact case as compatible with both the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and the new Z Fold 8 Ultra. And that's not a mislabeling error. Samsung kept the Ultra's external dimensions at 8.0 inches, matching the Fold 7 body, so the case genuinely fits both. If you're upgrading from a Fold 7 and already own accessories built around that shape, that's useful to know. The honest catch? A hinge cover and screen protector bundled at this price point usually means compromises somewhere, and here it's clearance. Budget hinge covers like this one are typically built thick to seal out debris, which is great for keeping dust out of the fragile inner hinge, but that same thickness is often the first thing that conflicts with edge-to-edge tempered glass screen protectors if you ever want to upgrade past the bundled one. The nano antioxidant coating on the matte back is a nice touch for resisting yellowing over time, since it's applied as a treatment rather than relying purely on the base plastic.
Verdict: a legitimately good budget option, especially if you're coming from a Fold 7. But confirm the exact SKU you're buying since FNTCASE lists several near-identical variants under the same name. Case, magnet, and hinge cover all covered. Now let's pivot away from protection-first design entirely, towards something built for people who want to leave their actual wallet at home.
6. SHIELDON Genuine Leather Wallet Case. If you've ever fumbled trying to hold your phone, your ID, and a coffee at the same time, this is the category that solves it. SHIELDON's wallet case for the Z Fold 8 Ultra uses genuine or PU leather, depending on the exact listing you land on, with multiple dedicated card slots and RFID blocking lining, so a stray contactless scanner can't pull data off the cards you're carrying. It folds into a kickstand for hands-free video calls, and the magnetic closure keeps it shut in a bag without a separate strap or clasp. Here's the trade-off nobody markets loudly. A wallet case adds meaningful bulk to a phone that's already thick when folded shut. You're not choosing this if slim pocket carry is your priority. You're choosing it because you want to consolidate what's in your pockets, which is a completely different use case than every other entry on this list. That's worth being upfront about before you buy, rather than finding out after the fact that it doesn't slide into a front pocket the way your old slim case did. Leather wallet folios also put real stress on the hinge area every time you fold the case closed around the phone, since the front card holder panel has to flex at the same point the phone's screen does. SHIELDON's construction routes that flex through the case body rather than directly across the phone's inner hinge, which is the right design call, but it's still something to watch for wear over months of daily folding. Leather and PU wallet flaps are the first thing to show creasing on any foldable wallet case, regardless of brand. Verdict: great if you're trying to ditch a physical wallet entirely. A poor fit if slim carry or fast one-handed folding is what you actually want from your fold. From wallet first back to protection first, and this next one brings actual hardware certification numbers to the table instead of just marketing language. 5. BENKS ArmorGrid Grand Combo Kevlar. BENKS built this as a genuine 3-in-1 system rather than a single case. You get a Kevlar fiber magnetic back case, a matching color-fitted front frame, and a Glass Warrior HD screen protector, all designed to install together as one coordinated set instead of you hunting for parts that happen to match. The DuPont Kevlar weave is the same fiber family used in aerospace and ballistic applications, and BENKS backs up the lightweight claim with a real number. The case and front frame together weigh just 35 grams, which is genuinely light for a 3-piece system. The lens frame is where this one earns a mention on the camera wobble front. BENKS publishes a 10-Newton magnetic hold rating specifically for the raised TPU rim around the camera lenses, which is designed to isolate each lens rather than using one flat block. That's the design choice that typically determines whether a case rocks on a desk or sits flush, and a per-lens raised rim is the better of the two approaches for a heavy triple camera module like this one. Now the catch, and it's an important one. BENKS sells nearly identical ArmorGrid Grand Combo cases across the Z Fold 8 Ultra, the regular Z Fold 8, and the Z Fold 8 Wide, all under very similar product names. The listing we verified for this exact case states it fits only the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra, not the Fold 7 or wide format Fold 8. So before you buy, double, triple check which SKU you're clicking. Get this wrong, and you'll have a case that looks identical, but doesn't seat correctly around the camera or hinge. Verdict: one of the most complete protection systems on this list on paper. Just be exact about which of BENKS' 3 near-identical variants you're actually ordering. Let's shift from armor first to feel first. The next case trades Kevlar for leather, and drop protection for how it feels in your hand every single time you pick it up. 4. TORRAS Q3 VegSkin Leather Case. TORRAS built this one around comfort rather than raw ruggedness. The Q3 VegSkin uses what TORRAS calls organic silicone leather, a nappa-like textured material designed to avoid the plastic smell and color transfer that cheap pleather often develops after a few months. A 360-degree spin magnetic stand is built into the back, with a sandblasted aluminum plate reinforcing it, so you get an actual adjustable kickstand rather than a fixed-angle prop. The catch is that resists yellowing and cracking is TORRAS's own claim on the product listing, not something verified by a third-party durability test yet. The material is new to the market alongside a phone that's shipped in the last few hours, so there's simply no long-term wear data from anyone outside the company. Leather-style cases in general also tend to grip better in hand than smooth plastic, which is good for hand feel but can mean more resistance sliding into a snug jeans pocket compared to a hard-shell case. A trade-off, not a flaw, but one to know going in if pocket slide matters to you. Verdict: the best pick here if you want your fold to feel and look premium day-to-day, with a genuinely useful adjustable stand. Just don't expect independently verified long-term durability data yet. 3. Ringke Fusion/Fusion Magnetic. Ringke's Fusion line has been a go-to clear case across multiple Samsung generations, and the Z Fold 8 Ultra version keeps the formula. A hard, clear polycarbonate back paired with a flexible TPU frame built with Ringke's anti-yellowing additive baked into the PC itself, rather than relying on a coating that wears off. That distinction matters. Additive-based yellowing resistance tends to hold up longer than surface treatments, since there's nothing to scrub away with repeated cleaning. The raised bezels around the screen and camera are worth noting for 2 different reasons. First, on the screen protector front, Ringke designs the inner lip with enough clearance for edge-to-edge tempered glass, rather than the overly aggressive lip you get on some rugged cases that pushes up glass corners. This is the kind of clear case you can actually pair with premium glass instead of fighting it. Second, the Fusion magnetic variant specifically builds in a magnet ring for Magsafe-style charging, while the standard Fusion is clear only with no built-in magnet. So make sure you're ordering the variant that actually matches what you want. Verdict: the clearest, most screen protector-friendly option on this entire list. Grab the magnetic variant specifically if you want MagSafe support built in. 2. TORRAS Magnetic Slim Case. TORRAS's slim case takes the opposite approach from their leather pick. This is about disappearing on the phone entirely. TORRAS lists a 0.04-inch case thickness, built around what they call an adhesive-free hinge design, meaning the hinge covering section attaches mechanically rather than relying on glue that can peel or shift with repeated folding. That's a meaningfully better long-term approach than adhesive-backed hinge covers, which are one of the more common failure points on cheaper fold cases. What actually sets this one apart is what's in the box. TORRAS includes 2 precision-fit front screen protectors designed specifically for the Z Fold 8 Ultra's cover display on top of the case itself, so you're not separately hunting for a compatible screen protector after the fact, which is normally its own research project on a foldable. TORRAS backs the purchase with their Care Plus program, offering 365 days of coverage from installation onward, which is a longer window than most case brands offer at this price tier. TORRAS markets this as 4x military-grade hinge protection on the listing. Verdict: the best all-around slim option here, genuinely thoughtful hinge engineering, and TORRAS solves the screen protector guessing game for you by just including it. And that brings us to the one we said we'd show you why it beat everything else. 1. Spigen Slim Armor Pro MagFit. Spigen calls this its most popular foldable case, and the engineering backs that reputation up. The hinge cover uses a patented spring mechanism that automatically encloses the hinge every time you fold or unfold the phone. You're not manually adjusting a flap or hoping a magnetic strip stays put. The mechanism does it on its own, every single fold. That's a meaningfully different approach from the magnetic PU hinge covers used on slimmer cases elsewhere on this list, which can shift or loosen with enough repeated use. The part that actually separates this from other, quote, hinge protection cases is Spigen's SecuLink technology. The front and rear panels are locked together with SUS 420F heat-treated steel pins rather than plastic clips or friction-fit tabs. Spigen specifically markets this as solving the problem of two-piece fold cases that loosen and separate after months of daily folding. A steel pin interlock is a fundamentally more durable connection method than the snap-fit tabs you'll find on cheaper two-piece designs. For drop protection, Spigen's air cushion technology sits in the corners to absorb impact, and raised edges around the camera module keep the lenses elevated off flat surfaces, the kind of isolated raised camera design that prevents the table wobble problem entirely, rather than resting the whole camera bump on one flat block. It's also confirmed Qi 2 wireless charging compatible, so magnetic accessories and fast wireless charging both work without removing it.
Quick recap by use case. If you're protecting a screen protector, grab the Ringke Fusion Magnetic E. That inner lip is built with actual clearance in mind. If Magsafe accessories are your priority, both the Ringke Fusion Magnetic and Spigen Slim Armor Pro MagFit have you covered. Want the thinnest case that still solves the hinge and screen protector problem for you? TORRAS Magnetic Slim. Coming from a Fold 7 and want your case fit to carry over? FNTCASE or Hensinple both genuinely fit both phones. And if you just want the single most protected phone in the room on day one, Spigen Slim Armor Pro MagFit is the pick. Links to every case are down in the description in the exact order we rank them. Grab whichever fits how you actually use your fold, and let us know in the comments which one you went with.